All right, everyone, welcome back. Hello, my name is the Shagsworth. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been waiting. We're still waiting on Dev, but I wanted to get things rolling a little bit here. It's been a few weeks since we have done an episode of Ready Set Shag, and for those who are here and who have never seen an episode or who are unfamiliar with this format, I am a pretty laid back guy. I find myself these days politically homeless, and I have, well, I guess those in the world would probably call me a crazy Trump supporter. But that is, I suppose, that is politics today. But I try to find myself in a more rational middle ground. I try to approach things one thing at a time, and I'm really excited to finally get the chance to sit down with Dev. And it's been a long time coming. I've tried to reach out to him a few times, and he's a busy man. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, we're still waiting for him a little bit. I hope everyone is doing well. We're live right now on Twitter. We're live here on YouTube. I've been trying to get live on Twitch as well, but I don't know why that's happening. So we're gonna try one more time and see if we can get this right. Let's see here. Yeah. So the format of this show, again, for those who have never been here before and are brand new, first of all, welcome. But also, this is sort of a free form conversation podcast where I talk with people who I find very interesting, people I want to press on, things here and there. It's all in all, this is a one-on-one. Let's have a conversation. Let's leave our politics aside. Let's leave drama aside, and let's get to the bottom of things that we either really enjoy, things that we want to have a broader discussion on. This, I would imagine, this conversation will likely get into some political avenues, as we just had an election, and Dev has been very vocal on that stuff. So. And obviously, without further ado, the man of the hour is here. Let's bring him in. Again, thank you everyone for joining. But how are we doing? Did we get the headset all worked out, Dev?
Yeah, but that background looks like shit, doesn't it?
I've been having issues with my camera and stuff too. I don't know what it is.
So. It's not on my end. It's StreamYard that's making it laggy like that.
That's weird. Well, thank you, dude. I'm.
I'll just turn it off. That's fine. Well, I don't even have an avatar in here though. Well, this sucks.
Oh boy, this is the show, everyone. No, I thank you again for joining me for the conversation. It's I'm glad we were able to finally get our schedules to line up properly.
Yeah, no problem.
But for those who are not familiar with you, who might be listening after the fact, who are getting to know you for the first time, give us a rundown of who you are, what you do online. Take it away.
Right now, I get into a whole lot of trouble. Basically, that's pretty much the long and short of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done gaming stuff, and I've done lots of politics stuff, and I've done culture war stuff. Anime stuff. I've kind of dipped my toes pretty much everywhere,
Right.
I've done a little bit of everything.
So, yeah, I mean, mainly commenting.
Just real quick, let me grab the link from you of the stream.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I think I got it. Okay.
But like you mainly do, you're commenting, you're a commentator, as it were. Like you see current events, culture war stuff, gaming, anime, all that stuff, and you give your takes on those things, basically.
Yeah, I think that's what this sphere of YouTube is called. I don't really keep up with what it's supposed to be, but I think so. Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, though, like there's a lot of commenters who, like, a good example is like the quartering, right? Well, where he'll do like 3 videos a day, and they're like surface level, and they're like 10 minutes, and he stretches out like a topic that is 30 seconds into a 10-minute video, and it's like, okay, I don't do that. I like to go a little bit deeper whenever I talk about something.
Yep. Well, recently you just released how long in total was it was essentially your election analysis. How
For
long in total
2020,
were
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It was 3 hours and 47 minutes, that video.
Damn.
And it's 1 out of 3. I got sick in the middle of October. I had a whole bunch more planned, but I couldn't finish them. Yeah, I had a trilogy planned on 2020 because I realized that no one at all anywhere knows what happened on 2020. So I was going to cover Trump's attempt to steal the election. That was part 1. And then part 2 was going to be all of Trump's claims of voter fraud. I was going to go through all those. And then part 3 was going to be the January 6th riot itself. And then after that, I was going to do a video on Kamala Harris because I also don't like Kamala. I don't like either of them. I don't like Kamala Harris either. So I was going to do a big video on Kamala Harris. And the idea would be that I would drop everything that I have on everyone so that, you at least know how bad both candidates are.
Yeah. What do you think is so, I mean, but beyond the obvious, what do you think is so bad about a guy like Trump? Like, I mean, everyone knows surface level, he's just he's very abrasive, right? Like he's not your typical politician who likes to beat around the bush and, say what you want to hear. He just really gives it to you straight. But besides that, what do you find, I guess, so nefarious about him?
For me, it really is just the attempt to steal the election. Like you can go over the course that, like, my channel's now been around for a very long time, and you can go back to my old videos and you can see where, like, in 2017, I gave a take where I said, listen, the media is going insane with Trump derangement syndrome. They're like screaming about how he's orange and, grab him by the pussy and all of these things. And like, he's so, he's so like angry and he's like, he's not very presidential the way he talks. But like, they were really losing their minds. And I said in that 2017 video, I said something along the lines of, at some point, Trump is going to do something that is actually really bad. And it actually disqualifies him, at least morally, from holding the office of president. And you guys will have cried wolf so much, no one will believe you anymore. And then it happened. It happened in 2020. So for me, like, basically keeping my biases, away and not just falling into the TDS trap, which definitely exists.
Right.
It is the attempt to steal the election made me go from neutral on Trump to explicitly anti-Trump.
But is it, the way I always saw it was that Trump was, he was obviously upset with what he thought was, he thought he should have won that, obviously. Do you think that, isn't it not a fair, wouldn't it be fair to say, like, he's just questioning the validity of it, not necessarily trying to steal it, but like saying, hey, there's something going on with this election. Like, we need to look at it. Now, again, I think it comes down to like, how he comes across is never great. Like, again, he's not I don't think he's a very well-spoken individual, especially not as a politician. But I don't know. I never saw it as a steal as much as it was like he was seriously questioning the system surrounding it, how certain laws were changed last minute due to COVID. Again, what do you think about that? Is that not an option, or was that not an option?
Give me a second, because I'm tweeting out the stream.
Oh yeah, no problem. John D. 212 says Trump has won 3 elections. Oh boy.
No, he hasn't. Come on.
While you're doing that,
2016 and 2024.
I will read out the super chat while you're tweeting out the stream. Silver Camaro 78 for $4.99. Thank you so much for the 5. Says Dev's girlfriend Naomi, who perpetrated the Rwanda genocide, pegs him, and he likes to wear a diaper every minute of the day. And his editor Dave has gout.
Fitting in all the community memes.
Yeah. I figured there was some inside jokes there.
Okay, so first of all, I know that you had my giant video on your to watch list. Did you ever get around to watching it? I know it's a big ask. It's a long video. I have not. I will be honest with you. Okay, yeah. So I set up that video specifically because I spent like a year and change debating right-wing people who asked all the questions that, like you asked those questions. I answered them in the video because I knew exactly what everyone's been asking. I'm like, okay, well, did Trump actually know that he lost? Well, it turns out, yes, he did. Was Trump informed by reliable people that he lost? Yes, he was. Was Trump lying about when he told people And the answer to that is probably like 70-30 yes. I'd say 70% he was just lying to people when he said that he actually won it, and 30% like maybe he was delusional, like medically delusional, where he ignored the advice of every single person on his staff and all the lawyers and all the investigators, and like he just ignored everyone. I mean, either you're lying or delusional at that point if you ignore like 50 solid pieces, like sources of evidence. Like you can ignore one or two and think they're corrupt, but like 50 of them, like I don't see it. And then it's like, okay, well, like, do we have evidence that Trump even tried to steal the elections? Yes, we do. We actually have paperwork of the whole thing. And like, so I go down every single question and I present the evidence in the video. That's why it's 3 hours and 47 minutes, because it is. I mean, I should probably make like a short video of it where it's like, listen, if you want to see the evidence, there's a long version, but just here's the TLDR of what happened. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I think that'd be good for some of the normies out there. I mean, I like I drive most of my day, so I like to have stuff like that on, and just listening to it. So no, I'll definitely get to yours. And I do appreciate the in-depth, searching some of that, because I think that's part of the problem is that most people don't have like the time or the access to that. Like, most people are working, they have 9 to 5s. They're not like always online, and they just don't have the time to do it. But when people do have the time to do it and they put all this stuff together and help to inform everyone else, that's great. And I certainly appreciate the that, the hard work.
So here's the TLDR of how it went down, right? Because everyone, whenever you talk to like a lefty about this topic, they usually end up like soying out about the January 6th riot, right?
Mhm.
And like the riot wasn't good. No one should riot. No one should riot. It's probably good that most of the people who got arrested, because like there was like, I know everyone says like the police let them in. It's like the police let them in after they'd already breached. Like I saw the video of like the guy stealing the riot shield and like bashing a window in and like breaking in. There was legitimate violence in that day, and the attempts to downplay it's kind of shady in my opinion. But like the riot itself is secondary. The most important thing that happened were the electors, right? Because you're an American, I presume.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And like I think most Americans have to take like civics 101 in high school, and you have to get like you have to learn how the electoral college works, right? Where like every state sends electors, and you don't really vote for president, you vote for electors who will vote for president on December 15th or whatever it is. Yeah. So basically what ends up happening is after Trump loses, and was it November 6th, 2020? Or November 4th? I don't remember the day, but it was election day of 2020. Yeah. He loses. He starts launching these lawsuits in 7 states, and the lawsuits don't go anywhere. However, basically there's like on the ground members of the GOP who set up 7 alternate sets of electors that aren't ratified by the state governments. Mm-hmm. And there is precedence for this because this happened in 1960 in Hawaii with Kennedy and Nixon, and there's like a whole story there. But basically, with Kennedy and Nixon in Hawaii, there was a recount going on that actually flipped the state from Nixon to Kennedy. So the recount came back. It's like, oh shit, we have, it flipped the state. So the governor signs off on the alternate electors and then sends them off to Congress. None of Trump's court cases in these 7 states returned any positives for him. So like at this point, nothing illegal has been done. Like when the GOP gets together and says, you know what, we have ongoing lawsuits. We're going to use the precedent of 1960. We're going to make these alternate electors. Nothing illegal has been done yet. What happens though is that after the electors are all chosen and all the court cases fail, you get to a point where like Trump's team still wants to use these electors, even though no state government has ratified them, because I think it's 12th Amendment, Electors Clause, the states are the final arbiter of what the electors are, like the official electors. It's the states, not the federal government.
Right.
So, but nonetheless, he wants to have these electors, these alternate electors that aren't ratified by the states, sent off to Congress, and also like Mike Pence. Mike Pence gave a what is it? Is it a deposition? We're basically you like swear under oath,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Pence basically outlined using like his notes of the like he like kept a journal, and just what happened during these weeks leading up to January 6th. And basically every day Trump was like pressuring him to say, listen, accept the alternate electors, You can do this, Mike. You can do it. And like Mike's like, I can't fucking do this, dude. Like there's nothing in the Constitution that says I can do this. And it says, no, you can do it. Just and like I outline all this in detail. There's much more detail than this, but basically that was the attempt to steal the election. It was the fact that there were alternate electors that were set up. They were not ratified by the states, and basically Trump wanted to use them and then like just push Mike Pence into doing it, and Mike Pence ultimately refused.
Okay, I can get behind that. I definitely want to look at your video more in depth because the TLDR like makes sense in my head, but I would love to see the full on breakdown, and then again and look into it even more because I don't know if I realized that whole part of it. You do hear from all the stuff. I mean, I'm online a lot, so I do hear about people talking about the alternate electors and stuff like that, and I just didn't know 100%, where that was coming from. So again, I would love to look into that.
Sure.
But what about the stuff?
Just real quick though, because in the video, I mean, I have like testimony from like Mike Pence's lawyer. I have testimony from Trump's own lawyer who testified against him to Congress. We have the actual false elector papers with people having signed them, and those are in the hands of Congress as well. Like all of this is laid out. It's just that people don't talk about it because the image of like revolutionaries storming a Capitol and taking over by force is a lot more romantic than someone like trying to take over with a pen. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. Did you die or did I die? Oh. Hold on. Is it just me on the stream?
Oh, am I back?
I think so.
Okay, sorry. My
it's gone again. So hold on.
Embarrassing.
Because this is through StreamYard, they can see me. Like you're not hosting it, StreamYard is, so they can see me even when you freeze.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, basically, what I said was like we have the false elector papers with people from the GOP who had signed them. We have testimony from like all these people working in the White House, all these lawyers, people who are working in Trump's cabinet. Like there has to be like, I don't know, man, dozens of people who worked in Trump's White House who have testified under oath. So like there's a lot to go through. It took them like 18 months to go through everything to really figure out what happened. So I condensed 18 months of research down into like 4 hours.
That's cool. I guess my concern always with all the legality behind, like all the legal stuff surrounding Trump and his like trying to steal the election and all that is it always comes back to it. Like if there's such damning evidence like against him, why on earth aren't like why is he elected again? Like why wasn't more done? And I also feel because he's so far outside the establishment that, I mean, people have turned on him left and right. He was really bad in his first term choosing people. I think largely because he did not expect to get in office, but like, I think he was pressured a lot of times, didn't really know the right people to go in the right spots. And when he didn't follow their lead or vice versa, things just kind of went upside down. And Trump being who he is as far, temperamentally, just didn't really care and was, he would call people out, fire him, get rid of him, whatever. And then, I think because of all that, you have them just willing to turn on him because like, hey, this isn't our guy. He's not part of our team. Like he's here and yeah, I worked for him, but he's not, he's not us. So I feel like a lot of this stuff was just political posturing to try and keep him out, to give him a bad name to the general public. Again, this is me like as somewhat of an outsider that hasn't dug deep into it. Like if so much shit has been thrown against the wall and nothing has stuck, I mean, the election in 2020, he lost, right? But between then and now, it's only done him good. It seems like, like he's back in the White House, but
yes. So there's the real rub is, people will vote for who they're going to vote for, whether they're felons or not, whether they're brought to court or not, or tried or convicted or not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just the nature of the game. Is that democracy is one of those things where, unless you manage to actually get a charge to stick all the way through before the election, which they didn't,
right?
You can't really do that. You can't really prevent them from running, right? So I mean, like I think earlier, not earlier, maybe. At the start of what you just said, you asked like, why hasn't anything happened? And the truth of it is it has, right? So Congress began to investigate the details of the false elector scheme shortly after January 6th, maybe like a month or two after. It took them 18 months to gather all the evidence from all the investigations.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was, in fact, a federal court case filed, and it's called United States v. Trump. And it was filed in, hold on, let me just get the date here. Was it filed in August 2022? I gotta find it. But basically, it just took them that long to like August 2023, a grand jury indicted Trump in the District of Columbia on 4 charges for his conduct following the 2020 presidential election: conspiracy to defraud the United States, obstructing an official proceeding, conspiracy against rights. Okay. So yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, so this did go to court, and it was in court for almost 2 years now. But I mean, Trump's basically Trump's game here was to stall it out long enough and hope that he won, and he did. And so now what's going to happen is, even like this case will probably still be open once he takes office, but he will simply lean on his Department of Justice to get them to dismiss it, because the president is above the Department of Justice. So
maybe, yeah.
He tried to do that in 2017. Because he had like people like there was I know there was some shady stuff regarding like Obama like wiretapping his campaign, and that was shady, fair enough. But they did end up finding that like one of Trump's senior advisors for his campaign, Paul Manafort, they found him guilty of actually like giving information to Russia. It wasn't just like a weird Russiagate like cope fest. That actually happened, and he went to jail for like 2 years.
Wasn't that? Yeah, but wasn't it what he? If you have more information on that, I'd be interested. But I thought that whatever he was like feeding them was inconsequential to anything. It was had nothing to do with like the U.S. Like, I could be totally wrong, but I know that whatever Russia's involvement was with anything was so far removed, but it was conflated with like everything else. Like it was a nothing burger is what it was. Like, yes, there was people communicating with Russia, but it had nothing to do with like the election or moving stuff around. Again, I could be wrong, but from what I had read it was,
I'd have to look at it again as well, because it's been several years for me too. But what I do recall is like they didn't find that Trump did anything wrong himself, but they found that a whole bunch of people around Trump were actually doing things that were illegal with regards to like a foreign government,
and
some
not
of them,
Trump,
but not Trump himself. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, the problem though is that the main guy who went to jail, Paul Manafort, when Trump left office in 2020, he pardoned him, and now Paul Manafort's going to be part of his cabinet. He's coming back. So like that's
really?
No good. To have a prosecuted potential leaker to the Russians as part of your cabinet now, like that's no good.
No, I mean, yeah, there's definitely stuff to like look into on that. And, again, this whole election's been interesting because, I mean, my entire life I was like a bleeding heart liberal, like we're on the side of justice. We're protecting people. We're open-minded. And then like really well, no, it wasn't even 2016. It was, I mean, yeah, it kind of was like when Trump was elected, I was like somewhat happy about it because so many people were like, we need a woman president and that's it. And I was like,
oh God,
okay.
Hillary was so bad for the job.
Right. And like, it was just more of like is she even like, I mean, she's qualified because she's been, she's done everything in government. She's been she was, in Obama's cabinet, like the whole thing, right? She could do it, I guess, but I didn't trust her as far as I could throw her. And, and then again, in some small way, because everyone was screaming so loud that it's time for a woman and all this, I just thought, that's not a qualifier for me. So, he wins and I'm like, okay. But it was mainly 2020 and like the Summer of Love stuff that was like, really sort of started turning me like, the Charlottesville stuff too. Like the sort of blatant lies surrounding stuff that Trump was saying was like, hey man, like what? No, wait, you can't just lie to us. Like it's okay to report on what's going on. And hey, he's, the things he's saying aren't really nice, but when you're just like lying to people, like that's a problem to me. And I think that's what you saw in 2024 was it was that squared. Like they not only did the Harris campaign double down on identity politics, but they continued to push those lies that most people had already figured out. And then it just pushed people farther. I wouldn't even say to the right. They just were like, I don't want this person in here. I'm going to vote Republican because that's my other choice.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I think I've seen a lot of people like start to notice now that we have more detailed data about the 2024 election. There's lots of people who voted like Democrat for the senator and Democrat for the congressman, but Republican for the president, because they said like we don't like Trump, but we really don't like Kamala Harris. And it's like, yeah, fair enough, because she also has a really bad record too, like, and
this is crazy. She's unpopular. Like nobody voted for her in the primaries in 2020. She didn't make it to Iowa. It's wild.
Yeah. She is like quite literally a DEI hire, because Biden brought her on to like check off a bunch of check marks, and like she has like an okay record as a prosecutor, which gives her like she did the job well enough, but like she was clearly chosen for demographic reasons. And then when it came time for her to stand on her own, also the fact that she didn't win a primary in 2024. Like I know right wingers are saying like, oh, it's a coup attempt. It wasn't a coup attempt, because there's actually a process for what happens when someone drops out. Everything was followed perfectly. The issue is that just in the public eye, the fact that she didn't win a primary just made her look illegitimate.
Yeah, and that is a point that I think a lot of people forget, is like it's not mandated to do the primary. It's just you do it that way because obviously this is the people's choice of like, here's all your options. What's the best one? And then they're going to run against the Republican choice. And what I was hearing was, well, there was no one else there. She's our best shot, basically. But that's not how. Again, it's not what people are used to. They're used to, hey, here's everything. Now, like, let's vote on it. Do we like her? And again, in 2020, nobody liked her. Now here in 2024, it's like you just threw her in there. And she's just, I don't know, man. Like, she's nice enough. She seems like a nice lady, but she seemed wildly unprepared for everything. And that's about it. Like, and it's unfortunate because I think he could have really run away with everything. Well, anyway, it felt like he had sort of slipped up with the debate because he massacred Biden in the debate. And then he went in against.
It was so bad.
Yeah. And then he went against Harris, and Harris was like, she was a little bit calmer. And I mean, the name calling was a little bit more from her, but Trump couldn't contain himself. Like, he needed to have the last word all the time. And I was like, dude, you just need to shut up and answer the question, because
he didn't answer a single question in that second debate. He didn't answer a single question. It's like he just kind of rambled. And like I went back and watched the Republican primaries from 2015, and like Trump was on the ball in 2015. And it's almost like he has his own old man problem starting to show up now. He's like, what, 79 or something? Like he's an old guy too, Yeah. So I'm sure like as the years go on, we're gonna start seeing maybe old man Trump memes start to crop up.
Oh, for sure. And the thing is Trump is a master at leaning into the memes, right? He has no problem like taking shots at himself. And that's what the left doesn't understand, is they keep trying to make fun of him. Like, oh, the orange man, or what? Like, he just keeps putting on more orange makeup. Like, he keeps putting on the McDonald's uniform. He doesn't care that you're making fun of him, because he uses that as his armor, right? It's the same thing as when Eminem went into that final rap battle in 8 Mile and just made fun of himself the whole time. And everyone was like, oh shit. Like, now this guy's got nothing. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's the game he plays. He knows it, and it's, inside and out. And I don't know if it's his strength necessarily, but it certainly has helped let things bounce off of him this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it makes people like him. It doesn't necessarily make him a good president, but it makes people like him, which is what you're going for when you're trying to get elected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. You asked a few questions, and I've all kind of slipped my mind now. I got to think about it for a minute.
Well, I guess, I mean, overall, I don't know if I had like any one specific. It's more of like, do you think, I'll just ask one just so we can move it forward. Do you think that Trump will will do better than Harris? Like, do you think he would do a better job than Harris would have if she was elected?
Really depends who his cabinet is. It really depends.
This is true.
And to be honest, you know what? One of the things you mentioned earlier is that like Trump had guys who were like pushing against him, right? I actually view that as a good thing. And the fact that he's only picking up people who will be just like strictly loyal to him is probably going to be bad long term. Because you do, like, if you are a leader, you do want a group of people under you who are highly competent and who are willing to tell you when you're wrong, when you are wrong.
Yeah. Right.
And if he's simply choosing people who will be blindly loyal to him, that is going to make things worse, I think. And I think Kamala, regardless of any of her other problems, she would probably just keep on Biden's cabinet.
Yeah. I mean, that's the tough part about this election. It seems is like voting for Harris just seems more of the same, right? It's just things that we know. It's comfortable politics, along with all the identity bullshit that we've been dealing with over the past however many years now. But with Trump, it seems like a kind of a mix-up, and I don't know. And the biggest issue I have with Trump is it's very hard for him to communicate what he wants to do. I've seen a couple of videos recently of him, explaining out like sort of his Department of Education plan, which I think is very smart to like get in front of and like kind of like you need to explain that stuff to people. And I've even seen people on TikTok start to try and like explain it to others. Like, this is what's going on. It's not trying to destroy schools. It's trying to bring back, X, Y, and Z. Like you need to understand that you can't just hate the man because he wears orange makeup. It's because, he's trying to do something here. And that's why I think like the hate for him is somewhat misplaced, because I do think he's, as far as the US goes, because you're not an American, like he's trying to be, he's trying to protect and repair some of the damage done to the country, get us out of.
Well, done from what though?
Well, I mean, just become a little bit more isolationist and even in some small regard, like fix the economy, bring back American industry, help get the middle class back on their feet a little bit. I mean, stuff like that. I think real world issues like protect home. I mean, not protect home. That sounds too like, fatherlandish, but I don't know. I think he has American values in his mind. I mean, obviously it's a two-pronged game in some ways.
I know what you mean, but I don't think he'll actually do any of it. I don't think he will. So, for example, I think the main reason that the Democrats lost in 2024 was the economy, because you had the COVID lockdowns and you had all the money printing. You had to like keep the economy afloat somehow while everyone was like locked at home for 2 fucking years. And so like you had the runaway inflation. Normally inflation's like 2%, and they hit like 10% at the highest, and now it's back down a little bit, but it's still not. It's like, I think it's like a 3.5 or something. It's the 2% is the goal for inflation. So like it's kind of solved, but not really. But also like when you say inflation is solved, what that means, like when people think inflation's solved, what they're thinking is the prices are going to go back down to what they were before. But that won't happen, because that's deflation now, because now you're going below 0%. For inflation, like if inflation hits 0%, that means that the prices as they are right now will stay as they are, right? And that doesn't feel like solved to anyone, because people's wages didn't start to rise until like a year after the inflation crisis started hitting, right?
Yeah.
So like inflation, I think, was the number one reason why the Democrats lost 2024. Is like I've studied enough elections now to know that like when Americans, not just Americans, like Americans do this more often, but I think every democracy does this to some extent. When there's a crisis happening and people can go and vote, they will always vote against the incumbent. Happens every single time, right? So like so for example, like when Joe Biden won 2020, what was happening? Well, you had COVID for a year, right? No, you had COVID for like 8 months, and like what was the biggest news story? COVID, and who was in charge? Trump. So they voted Trump out. And then what was the biggest news story in 2024? Well, the collapse of the economy due to COVID. So they vote Joe Biden out, right? And you can go back and see other elections, and you can see how that's the case too. I know, like right now, there's a narrative that worldwide, the right wing is ascendant in all these democracies, and the right is back. But like, It's true sometimes, but in other places, no. Like in the UK, it was Labour that had like an overwhelming majority. In Australia, 2022 was Labour that had an overwhelming majority, right? What's happening right now? It just seems to be that, oh yeah, in Japan right now, their left-wing party is coming to power for the first time in like 50 years, right? So what's happening right now, I think, is just everything's fucked, and so voters are voting for the other party, whoever the other party is. Doesn't matter if it's left or right. They're voting for something different. So that's what I think is happening here.
Do you? Sorry.
Just real quickly, because in terms of the economy, the reason why I don't think Trump will do anything is like one of Trump's big policies is tariffs. Right? He's big on tariffs this time, more so than he was in 2016. And tariffs cause inflation. Like there's it's just how
they
it is. Like
they do and they don't. Tariffs are very misunderstood. The problem is that tariffs are like, yes, on their surface, like I guess definitionally tariffs, like you have a 20% increase in prices. Most of the time they're passing that right along to the consumer. But the problem is when people comment on this stuff and they scream that, Trump's going to destroy the economy with inflation due to tariffs, they're not taking into consideration like anything else like that factors in the tariffs. Like, so there's demand elasticity that is brought into tariffs. Like not every, like all these products have different like elasticity as far as like how they are brought into the market. They're not like, and it's up to a certain point in certain products. Like it's not just like, oh, anything that maybe for China it is, but like what I mean is there's no nuance when it comes to tariffs. They're not always inflationary, and they do have an effect on the exporting country, especially ones where these products are subsidized by the government. They have to lower their prices in order to meet that, because they're essentially China has these, they not gouge people, but they sell everything at such a low cost. But now they have to, in order to be competitive, they have to it affects their pricing because it's all subsidized by the government. Like these are things that are just not fully talked about in the grand scheme of things. It's just, oh, tariffs, Trump wants to do them. He's bad for wanting to do it. And that's the last thing I'll say. But they have no problem when the UK does them, when Biden continues those tariffs and implements more tariffs. So it's kind of annoying to see all this stuff, like, again, I know it's always my party is better, like my tribe's better, so we just got to bash the other one. Mm-hmm. But tariffs are fairly complex and they're not always bad. And we've even seen prices come down following them, and even in some regards seen American industries thrive a little bit. So that's all I wanted to say on that. Not picking on you. I just think people are misinformed.
Yeah, so I think the issue is that like on the campaign trail, Trump repeatedly said a flat 10% tariff on anything coming into the States, which is that would be catastrophic. I think like there's one thing where like you want to tariff certain countries because they're not really that friendly to us politically. So like China, for example, I'm completely fine with that. Russia, for example, completely fine with that. There are reasons other than economics that you want to restrict trade with your enemies, obviously, right? But like, and also like if someone starts tariffing you, then you have to tariff them to like keep things equal. Like the issue though is when Trump says we're going to tariff stuff coming from China and China's going to pay for it, China's not going to pay for it. That's the point, is that China is not going to pay for it. That stuff's going to come in and the prices are going to go up and the American consumer is going to pay for
it. Yes, in some small regard, but this is the part I'm not fully well versed on. I've watched a few things on it to learn. It's not immediate, but there is a cost that eventually is incurred on China because of the tariffs. Now, but yes, in some small respect, and depending on the product and how on the demand elasticity of that product is how much of that 20% or 10% or whatever is passed on to the consumer. Again, it's not as straightforward as, oh, there's 20% added on to, tax on that coming in. Well, the person's going to be paying 20% more. And again, then it's a good thing that that's the case. It's not a, that it's something for people to learn that it's a little bit different.
I mean, it is complicated. It is complicated. Yeah. See, the issue that I have with tariffs ultimately is that, like, there are definitely instances where you actually do want to implement tariffs, right? So, for example, tariffs help Canada a lot more than they would help America, because Canada is primarily an export market. Because we have, I think, 1/10 your population, and I mean, we have more oil than you do, we have more uranium than you do, we have more fresh water, we have more wood, we have like a lot of natural resources. We have way more than you guys with 1/10 your populations. Like, the economic calculations for us are going to be different than for you, right? But like, and I read it maybe a year ago. I was reading some books on this, because Singapore, during its rise, used tariffs to great effect, and so did Japan after the Second World War. What they did was they would use tariffs to keep foreign competition out of their domestic markets, and they would build up their domestic markets so that they could actually be competitive against foreign competition.
Right.
But there is a point where you have to, like, let the tariffs off, because if you simply support your domestic production indefinitely, it becomes bloated and inefficient, like most government-run things are. So you have to, like, you have to use it to, like, build them up, and then once they become big enough and strong enough, then you kind of let the reins go and let them compete, because then the competition keeps the growth going, right? So Singapore did that successfully. Japan did that successfully, and a lot of I've heard Trump talk about it a bit. I've heard Trump supporters talk about it a lot. They want to do that with the United States, where they implement tariffs, build up local production again, and then hopefully in the future take the tariffs away. But I don't. It won't work with the United States, I don't think.
Well, it might, and that's the thing, is that I think people need to understand that tariffs are not the blanket solution, right? It's a piece of the solution, and beyond that, it's like there's an expectation by a lot of people, a lot of low information voters, that this is my guy. He's in office right now. He said this is the economic plan, and everything's going to be done by the time he leaves office. And it's like, it's the most lowbrow thinking that people have. Like, what needs, like, really the solution is, here's what we have. Like, Trump does fairly well for the economy in, from 2016 to 2020. What you need is bipartisan support to help sort of ride the coattails and pull those policies and build on them through, either another Republican presidency or even the Democrats. Like, and that's where the whole political game in the US, and probably largely everywhere, that it just becomes an us versus them. And then everything that this person does, we just have to dismantle on day one, and that, or whatever. And it's really, really tiring here in the US that we keep doing this shit. But
man, how often did that happen between Clinton, Bush, and Obama, though? I feel like the first time that happened is when Trump came in and wanted to pull apart the ACA.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like, he was someone that I think, again, being such a mercurial, like, person in general is not, like, helped his cause. Like, he's a businessman. If he thinks it's not going to work, he just goes in there like a bull in a china shop. And again, it doesn't help him, I think, at all. But no, it's always been here. Maybe not as quickly of dismantling policies, but it's always this tribe did really bad. We have to undo their mistakes and do better than they did. It's every election cycle, because it's usually 2 terms per party. You get 8 years of Democrats, then you get 8 years of Republicans, and then it switches because we're done with these people because they ruined the economy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Well, when it comes to the economy, I think no matter who won 2020, it was going to be fucked, because COVID's like a unique circumstance. There hasn't been a pandemic like that since the Spanish flu, so things were fucked no matter what. We were going to have to deal with the fallout of that, no matter who was in the office. But no, what I wanted to mention about tariffs before, though, is that, like, I don't think tariffs will work the way that other people think they'll work in the United States, because a lot of what American workers do is, like, high value end game additions to a product, right? So, for example, like, Elon Musk decides to build Teslas and, like, Starlink satellites in the United States. he doesn't go and like set up shop in Africa where they're like mining lithium out of the ground for these things, because frankly, any like shitty third world laborer can mine stuff out of the ground or can harvest crops or whatever, right? It's basic labor. You don't need education. You don't need to be part of like a highly technologically advanced, really literate society. This is stuff
Right.
that anyone can do. So like resource extraction is usually done in the third world or by low skilled labor, because it doesn't really like it matters. It's an important part of production, but
Right.
like American laborers are some of the most productive laborers in the world, not because they're like these muscular gigachads or anything, but because they're smarter and they're more educated and they do more complicated things, right? So even if you have like there's like a mine somewhere in Africa you have like a bunch of people just like digging up the lithium and then sending it over to the West. In the stuff that American workers add to the Tesla is like the really high value stuff. It's the computers and the programming and like the auto driving and like all of this stuff that no one else can do. It's only like first world countries that can do this sort of thing, that have that level of workforce.
I
So like,
would,
well, just real quick though, is like
yeah.
if you start like if the goal is let's set up tariffs to bring back this kind of low skill labor to the United States, you have like two side effects that I think are really negative. One of them is because American labor tends to add more high value addition to low value imports. The tariffs kill those imports. So now the high value American labor has a lot less to do. So that leads into the second problem. And the second problem is you have this high value American labor that is now going to be working this much more low value job and adding like way less than what it could be. So it's much more inefficient in that regard.
Yeah. I was going to say too, and someone just beat me to it in chat. Regulations really, American work regulations are something that kills us too. Like these third world countries don't have labor laws, and American companies also exploit that in getting, again, these cobalt mines, lithium mines, all that stuff that, is literal slave labor. And we're just like, yeah, no problem. We just need it for our electric cars and all this stuff.
I mean,
And
I get it, but like, would you want those conditions to be in the United States?
well, the question becomes more like, no, I don't want those exact conditions. No, but the question is how do you use, American ingenuity to make it safer? The problem is we regulate it so heavily because it's so dangerous that it would be so expensive to do. You couldn't do it for how cheap it is, because there's like no oversight and there's children doing it. So it's and like, again, the environmental laws, there's so much red tape when it comes to environmental stuff. Again, it's a good thing, but it costs an exorbitant amount of money and is not cost effective, which again, the US is just as guilty as the rest. Everyone says, oh, China, they have nets outside of their things making iPhones so people don't, jump out of the buildings. I'm like, yeah, well, look what's in your pocket, dude. Like you're not helping that.
I agree. The issue though is that like I think a lot of what is on kind of Trump's plans, they're kind of contradictory, and it's not just tariffs versus inflation. Because do you recall like in 2015 the big deal was the TPP, and how like everyone thought the TPP was going to be terrible and America pulled out of it, and Trump was like, I'm killing the TPP, and he kills the TPP.
Yes,
because like the American right wing in 2015 thought that the TPP would give like China control over the American economy, which I don't think was true. But like there was a lot of like we don't like this trade deal. The issue though is that like part of the TPP that was axed was like worker protections in Vietnam for people who were making like electronics that were coming to the United States. So like these trade deals that seem to get cut when countries go more isolationist, they are like a very good method to actually improve worker conditions in the third world.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to get to some super chats. We've been very lucky tonight. Appreciate everyone who has.
I think they're all from my guy. I recognize them.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love when people support. It's really awesome. So the first one, Argil for $5 says, Dev poop stinky, he's smelly. No smell or die of dead sickness, bad smell hours.
Thanks, buddy. I think those come around just because of the Chugga Conroy video that I did. You hear about that drama, right? With Chugga Conroy, like the feet. Yeah, I did like an hour-long video, and I got some funny voiceovers for like Chugga's voice. It was a great time.
And Silver Camaro 78 for $5. Thank you, sir. Says, I don't know how long the stream is, but there's some videos by how money works that explain some of the issues of the economy independent of politics. If you want, we're probably not going to bring those up, but we'll be live for another like 45 minutes or so, just chatting it up. But thank you, dude. I appreciate there's so much.
How money works, right? Yeah, I think so. It sounds familiar.
But there's a lot of channels out there that help explain these things more in depth that people really should spend more time on. Like, don't just take what we say or like any one person says. Like, you should always investigate the stuff and see how these things are broken down. I spent, I think, half a day. I was driving around a lot one day, and this whole like, oh, he's like people talking about Trump and he's a fascist. I got so sick of hearing it. I was like, you know what? I want to like really listen to like the history of fascism, and I want to hear what it actually means. And I probably listened to 4 or 5 videos on it, 3 of which were like so heavily like liberal, like progressive, like made by progressives. Like they didn't say Trump's name, but it was just like you could see it coming out of their eyes. Like it was it was so biased. It was crazy. That I finally found 1 or 2 that were a little bit more middle of the road. Definitely, you could definitely tell that they were liberal, but they were way more balanced in how they were and objective and how they were talking about the history of fascism, both big F and little f. And it was really cool and informative. Like, you don't see a lot of that stuff nowadays. So much stuff is injected with politics and everything. So
yeah, I did a video like that, I think back in 2022 or something. Just like a 30-minute video on like historical fascism, because it is so misused,
Oh, for sure.
Basically, progressives view like any sort of government that has rules is fascist to a lot of progressives, and it's like, that's fucking ridiculous, dude. It's stupid. Like, I mean, fuck, I think I might have done like 4 or 5 videos on why they think everything is fascism, and it just kind of it boils down to like this kind of leftist anarchy, like. There's it's anarchy, but it's also anything that the fascist likes is bad ontologically. So we have to be anti-fascist in all things. So like fascists like strength as a virtue. So like we have a moral obligation to like worship weakness or be weak, right? It's like, well, hold on, it's not just fascists who like strength. But like everything that the fascists like becomes fascism itself. Like I did a video like breaking this down, because like fascists like a lot of good things. That's gonna get clipped out of context, but I don't care, because like they like strength, which is good. They like order, which is good. They like they like masculinity. They like virility. Like these are positive qualities that we should not simply give to the fascists.
Right.
Like, that is what the very far left people do.
Yeah. Kalev Knight all right.
We're back.
Yes. I almost put the StreamYard link in a tweet. So glad I caught that.
So will you just kind of stitch these 2 parts together and re-upload it as like a thing, or just?
I don't usually do that, but I'll probably have to take them down and then put them together and export as one full episode. Sorry about that, folks. Let me see if I can pull up that last super chat that I was going to read. It said, well, the tariffs one I read, and then the stream crashed. The system's out to get us. And then Silver Camaro 78 for $5 again. Thank you very much. Camaro says, issue is in the 2000s, our economy became dependent on speculation and low interest rates backed by the government. With inflation, rates need to be high. Yeah, that is. I'll tell you. I'll be 100% honest. The interest rates a lot of times, like, I am not as well versed in all that, so I'll plead ignorance with that and how it plays into everything.
On the interest rates, interest is kind of complicated, because like interest is in a roundabout way a price increase, because now you're paying more for the same thing, but it's over time, because it's like a loan. So like it has a complicated relationship with inflation, because it kind of acts like inflation long term, but it can also kind of help bring inflation down short term. It's strange.
So I did want to ask about something. So the moving kind of away from politics ish.
Okay,
The
I did have one more thing I wanted to bring up though, if you don't mind.
Of course, no, go ahead, shoot.
Okay, so we were talking about the economy. This is a great way to kind of cap off the economy conversation. It's important to understand. I'll put this link in the private chat if you want to pull it up, because it is relevant. This is from an economist named Sophia Bagg, and she posted the daily consumer sentiment. And the daily consumer sentiment is just basically how consumers feel about the economy, not necessarily how well the economy is going, but
Right.
how people who are buying products feel about the things that they're buying, like the prices and the variety and how much there is, right? And you can see, like looking at the image, that like it's going along. So like it starts at 2018, so during Obama, right? And you have no, was 2018 Obama? No, 2018
No,
was
it's
Trump.
Trump.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
like the Republicans are at 140, the Democrats are like at 100, and then you can see COVID starts, right? The initial lockdowns start in like March or whatever, so you can see the giant drop, and
Yep.
then so this is just how consumers feel about the economy. But then as soon as Biden gets elected, they switch, right? You can see the switch.
Yeah.
And you can see in 2024, as soon as Trump wins his election, they're switching again. But like, even though they've switched, they still mirror each other. So like,
Yeah.
how the economy is actually doing is probably somewhere in the middle there between those two
Yeah.
lines.
Mhm.
And so you have like, even just getting a new guy in office will make people feel like the economy is doing better than it is.
Yeah, it's always that first, like, again, it's usually like the first 6 months to a year. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, like we're doing good. Like everything's going to be okay. And then like reality sets in and not everything is going as quickly as everybody like wants. Again, it comes down to people don't realize how like economies work. Like this isn't just like, you're not just talking about your bank account going up and down, right? You're talking about like global economies and national global economies and how they're working together to influence prices one way or the other. Like these things take time, and even the internal politics of the United States affects a lot of this stuff. And sometimes you don't see them right away. And it's why people are like, well, we're still under Trump's economy or we're still under Obama's economy. Like you hear that every election cycle, every single one. I'm sure you
I
have
mean,
the same thing in Canada. Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of true though. Like, there is definitely some holdover policies that like
yeah,
they continue on. So like, there's some truth to it. It's
yeah,
just, but also like a lot of this stuff is going to be how people feel about it, and not necessarily how it's actually working, right?
hmm
So
yeah,
like, for example, for a long time I kept seeing numbers like, well, the economy's doing better. It's like, well, okay, and I look at inflation. Okay, it looks like it's down, and okay, I see like, well, real wages are going up again. Okay, that sounds good. But then like people keep saying like, I don't feel good about the economy. People say
yeah,
that all the time. And it's like, well, what is it that the data is not capturing some hidden effect that people are experiencing? Or is it that the people are feeling something that isn't there? Because that's also possible, right? Because like, if let's say that you're somebody who like is used to prices being at a certain number, and now the prices are doubled, and maybe you are making more, but just the
right,
feeling of seeing higher prices like kind of puts you off on some things. Like a
yeah,
lot of this stuff is very subjective, and just like how do people feel about things?
yeah. Um, yeah, it's weird. It's people definitely like they don't feel it until they feel it, and it sounds weird, and like
Yeah,
you kind of just said it as well. But yeah, sometimes I mean, especially in the U.S. and in Canada, like we live in the first world, right? We have most of us can buy what we need when we need it. Most of us are not struggling to buy, the basic, amenities that we need, and the like really the price increases that we're seeing sometimes are not as like they're not affecting our wallet in a way that is like this item is so scarce right now that the price is through the roof, like triple or quadrupling the price of eggs or something like that. Like it's incremental, but it's now I think people are getting to a point where they're like, ooh, this has gone up enough where, all right, I'm starting to feel like the things I buy all the time, milk, eggs, all that stuff is starting to creep a little bit more than I like. I mean, personally, I don't notice a huge difference in my grocery price. Some people are. I don't like. I don't really see that much. But no, I think a big part of it is people's perception on things. But that's something that's kind of hard to measure.
Yeah,
So
I think so too. I think a lot of it is just going to come down to perception. I mean,
yeah,
there are real problems too, of course, but like it's not all just like people coping. Like there are real problems, but like definitely there's this instance of like someone looks at the price of food and it's doubled, and they go, well, that sucks. Like someone's mismanaging the economy. But
yeah,
then someone looks at like their own paycheck and they see they have a raise, and they don't want to say, well, this is actually just the economy kind of working normally because your pay has gone up. But they want to say like, no, I got this increase. I'm a good worker, right? And so like these two things, even though they're related, in like the emotions of the average person, they're not going to want to connect them. You know what I mean?
right. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about this because this just came to my attention. I think it just came out today. I want to ask you about this Ace video. A lot of people have mentioned it in chat.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people are mentioning it in chat. They want, oh, bring him on, bring him. I'm not going to bring anyone on. This is between me and you are talking. I don't care. I'm not trying to bring other people in here and trash anyone.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on? I'm sure you watched it to some extent. I mean, you probably don't even need to because you've lived a lot of it.
Well,
what do you think of?
Do you know who Ace is?
I don't like so I'm online a lot. I don't follow a lot of the interpersonal drama that happens. I generally distance myself from it because I just have a lot of shit to do otherwise. So
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
No, so Ace is somebody that I was a mutual with like 4 or 5 years ago. And we had like, solid back and forths, and you can go on his channel. You can see there's a bunch of videos of like him, like giving me a whole bunch of good praise and agreeing with certain things, or like laughing when I was taking down some lefty over something stupid. But like over the course of Biden's 4 years in office, a lot of my more right-wing friends went way further to the right than I did. And some of them, in fact, not Ace, but others, in fact, turned on me because I wasn't radicalizing along with them. This is how I became the communist, by not fucking changing my opinions. You know what I mean? And like Ace is one of those guys who became more combative when we were like having our back and forth. And then I reached a point, and it was maybe a year ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I basically realized that like a lot of people that I was friends with, or that I was friendly with, or like acquaintances with, they just treated me like shit. It was simple as that. And I was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, and I've since kind of like codified what my feelings were into like a rule set for my community. And the rule set is basically, you can call me stupid, and you can call me uneducated. You can think that I'm missing some important thing, or I'm too dumb to figure it out. You can call me like angry or coping or seething. You can say that I'm like, I'm emotionally, compromised, and I can't like understand this. You can call me irrational, but you can't call me evil. I've drawn a line there for my community where it's like, listen, if you think that I'm lying to you, if you think that I'm evil, if you're attacking my character in that way, I'm just not going to deal with you anymore. Because frankly, if you think that I'm evil, you shouldn't want to follow me anyway. And if you're telling me that I'm lying to you when I know that I'm not, like there's no point in talking to you, right? Like I don't know if you watch, there's a debate between Vosh and Count Dankula, if you know who those two guys are.
I do know both of them. Yes.
Yeah. So there was a debate between them, and the debate was, is Count Dankula a fascist? And they start going off in this debate, and like 5 minutes in, Vosh says, "Well, fascists by definition lie." So
my God.
So I
Hitler
can't
drank water.
Yeah. So it's like, so I think you're a fascist, and if you say you're not, well, then you're just lying to me, and anything that you say is just going to be more proof of your lying. So like, there's no way to get out of the trap, right? And then I realized like, if people are going to treat me like that, like not only does it destroy the conversation we're having now, it destroys future conversations that I have with other people. So I just shouldn't tolerate these people. So you can call me stupid, you can call me uneducated, you can call me emotional or like irrational, but you can't call me evil. And that's kind of a line that I've drawn for myself, where it's like, I'm going to stop associating with people who do this. If you call me evil or a liar or bad faith, so I'm like, I cut you out. So Ace was one of the first victims of that kind of me, the dev grows a backbone arc, because before that I was like the polite Canadian who let everyone walk all over him, and I was always good for a joke, and like everything was fine. But I got to a point where like I was like earning this reputation of being a pushover, of basically being someone that you could like you could like drag me onto your stream and just like, you know, shit on me for fun, and I would just like laugh along with it and like be your friend. And it's like eventually I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And so Ace didn't do that, by the way. Ace was not, I didn't get dragged onto his stream, but like other people did that. But with Ace,
Right.
it was like we were having a debate, and he was just like, it was no longer a friendly debate. And I said, I don't need to tolerate this guy. So I cut him off. And since then, he's been doing like consistent hate videos about me. There's been like maybe a dozen of them so far, and it's always like, here's the most recent thing that evil dev has said on Twitter that I'm going to take umbrage with, and like half the time it's usually stuff that he's like completely taken out of context or whatever the fuck. And eventually, I just stopped. Like I stopped caring. It's kind of strange. Just like you get so much hate where eventually you're just like, oh, whatever. Like you just kind of move on from it, you know?
Yeah, I think that is fine. I think you said it the best there. Like you kind of established boundaries for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that it's interesting because the way I see a lot of conservative liberal commentary when it comes to politics or even culture war stuff is that you need to take sort of this like hard line, like this is where I am. I'm drawing the line in the sand. And I'm not moving from it. And like, but it's like so it's interesting that like, because now that you've set that standard, like it's not okay. Like they're not allowing you to set those boundaries. And instead being just calling you evil for, it's just, you know, again, I don't know the whole context.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the video today. It's the only video I've ever watched of someone calling you evil. In the few interactions that we've had, you know, I wouldn't consider you evil. Even the stuff that they were putting in there, you know, it seemed more hyperbolic. They were using the word evil the way they were using it. Like,
well, here's the thing. I think he was trying to piggyback off of the Vosh is unironically evil video, because Doomer Media made that like 2 years ago, and it went fucking gangbusters, like millions of views, and just that title, Vosh is unironically evil, is what made it blow up. And ever since then, like that's become like a format. Is if you want to make a video blow up, you say X is evil or something, you know? That's what it feels like to me. Yeah, I mean, obviously go and get his side of the story. Don't just take my word for it, you know? Uh-oh. I see that Shag's... I think you guys can probably still hear me, right? Chat, let me know if you can.
I can hear you.
Oh, you're back? You're back? Okay.
Yep. We're good.
You froze with your eyes closed, like you've fallen asleep. It was pretty good. But yeah, so like I've kind of gone through several waves of this, because back in like 2018, maybe 2017, I had to purge a bunch of far left people from my community, because there were people who were like who had been holdovers from like my pre-politics days, and they all radicalized leftward after Trump got elected for the first time, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And they eventually turned on me because I didn't move to the left along with them. And then I experienced the same thing in like 2021. I lost a lot of right-wing friends who moved to the right, and I wouldn't move with them. So like I've gone through this kind of song and dance before. There's definitely videos of like how terrible I am, but from the other side, from like you know, years and years and years ago. So like this is nothing new for me. But yeah, basically like having now gone through it a whole bunch, I did establish those boundaries with both other people and with myself. And I think the issue is that like if you haven't established a boundary, then whatever like you tolerate becomes automatically the boundary. And then when you do finally establish it, it feels like you're taking away something from them, you know? Because like if you're like, let's say you're, I don't know, you're black, right? And you're good with people making race jokes. But then eventually, and like everyone's making race jokes and everything's okay, and you're like, oh, okay, fine. But then like eventually you're like, I don't like this anymore. And then you kind of like establish like a boundary with your friends. No more jokes about race, right? Now they're gonna feel like, well, we've been doing this now for years. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, they're gonna feel like you're now pushing back on them or something that they've already had by establishing a boundary, even though you are right to do so. Like, it's one of those complicated social things where like I don't necessarily begrudge people who get angry about it, but I also have to do it at this point.
Yeah, no, I get it. And the thing is, I've received some of my own like hate because I refuse to like just subscribe to right wing or left wing politics, like both online and in real life. Like I just have never been someone. I think before you got on, I said like I'm politically homeless. Like I don't feel I fit into any camp when it comes to politics right now. Like I find myself agreeing with a lot of things that conservatives say, but I also like I'm very critical of them, and like a lot of the left wing shit is just insane right now. And it's like I don't know, like I don't want to be a part of any of it. Like I want to be left alone. You know, like I want to live my life. I want to raise my kids. I want to, you know, do what I want to do. And I want all those people, like I want trans people, I want gay people, I want whoever to live their life in happiness and like just leave the government out of it, you know? You know, like, but there's no, it always seems like there's no way to like approach a lot of these subjects and have like, well, I don't, you know, I do humanize all these people. I don't think it's a sin to be gay or whatever. You know, like that somehow all of a sudden becomes a fucking problem for people for people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like I've seen so many people who are like, I'm a libertarian, but then you ask them, okay, well, should adults be able to get like trans surgeries? And they're like, no, that's degenerate. And it's like, well, hold on, I thought you're all about individual liberty here.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, well, people seem to be libertarian for their projects and not for other people's projects generally.
Right. Yeah. No, and like, yeah, it's like, and I'm not under some illusion that like we could completely abolish government and be fine. Like, I think very limited government is good. Like, you know, I think right now the government's so big in a lot of ways that it oversteps its bounds and it tries to control things as no business controlling. And
I mean, sometimes, but sometimes big government's good too. Like it's not. I don't have like an ideological devotion to the idea of just shrinking the government. Sometimes you need a big government. You know, sometimes you want like a big army to be able to do like certain things. Like some projects take like new coordination with multiple different parts and like different levels. Like big government isn't always evil. You know.
No, and that's the thing is I've benefited from like my wife and I, like we've benefited from Medicaid. Yeah. Yeah, Medicaid. Like the, you know, when you're poor, basically you get government insurance and food stamps and all. Like we've benefited from those. So I do think those should be available. Like, are they perfect? No. They certainly are difficult to get and maintain here in the US. I don't think people appreciate how difficult it is to actually get on these programs. Like they're pretty rigorous with how they like who gets on them and what you get for it. But you know, like, but again, like people are like, oh, so you're a drain on the tax. I'm like, no, like that really helped me out, but it got me on my feet. And then I got off of it, and now like I make my own money. We don't need to be on it. Like that's totally awesome and cool.
That's the basic return on investment argument, right? Where it's like, well, if the government spends $50,000 getting you on your feet, and then you end up paying back more than $50,000 in taxes after you are on your feet, you've paid it back. Like it's not a waste of money at that point, you know?
Yeah. You know, I don't know. But yeah, I don't, anyways, I wanted to really just sort of poke you a little bit on that video. Cause it seemed, of all the things that we've been on a couple of streams together, you've always seemed like a pretty straightforward guy. You know, you have your opinions on stuff. I see your stuff on Twitter. You know, sometimes you're leaning to the right, sometimes you're totally anti-Trump. You know, it doesn't like, to me, that seems like a sort of fair and balanced like way to approach things. Like, hey, I might be open-minded to something that, you know, conservatives say. I might be open-minded to something that liberals say, you know, and I don't know. But it seems like you are in a good headspace about it at this point because it's been going on for so long.
Yeah.
That you're like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, also like Ace is not even the most demented of my haters by far. It's not even close. So like I'm okay with videos like that, to be honest. There are people who have said some truly insane shit about me over the years. Like I think probably the craziest I know everyone loves her. She has tons of fans everywhere. But probably the most crazy example is Kirsch, right? Because maybe over the summer she dropped like a 300-page document about how evil I was, and you can go read it. Anyone can go read the document. I encourage you to,
300 pages?
Well, it's more like 25 pages, but it's 300 pages with
Oh.
with like logs like attached. It's like Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2. It's like just. But here's the thing, it's like 3 other guys who I've known over the years doing stuff to Kirsch, and me not disavowing it, and that's why the document is about me being evil. And I'm just like, this is some fucking bullshit here. Like this is just guilt by association, mob mentality, fucking nonsense. And like you keep seeing like, and Dev is still friends with this person. It's like, oh, fuck off, man. Like I don't care. I don't care what other people do. You know, I just don't.
Yeah.
Now, and the thing is, to give her some credit, you know, give the devil their due. One of these people was a moderator in my community, right? And she kept saying like, well, listen, like, you know, if you have to deal with your moderators. I'm like, well, hold on, they're not doing anything in my community. If they were, I banned them, right?
Right.
But it's like, I've seen, I saw Sargon get kicked off of Patreon for something he said, not on Patreon and not even on his YouTube, but as a guest on somebody else's YouTube channel, right? I've seen Twitch streamers lose their channels for tweets that they've made completely unrelated to Twitch. So I hate this stuff. This is like this shit is ridiculous. So I've always had a general rule, like, I will not ban anyone from any of my spaces if they do things that are bad, but they're not in my spaces. Period. Because I think that's immoral.
That's fair.
So when Kirsch came to me and was like, "Listen, your moderator's doing this stuff," and I'm like, "Well, then ban them. Go ahead." It's like, "Well, no, it's not enough." It's like, "Well, I'm not doing anything else. Like, I don't hold anything against you, but this didn't happen in my sphere of influence, so I'm not taking action."
I mean,
and that is where the document came from, basically.
Yeah, and that goes back to, you know, you see all this shit all the time about how like all these alt-right commentator channels are radicalizing their audiences to be violent against these Star Wars actors, and it's like, what? Like all these, like it blows my mind. And like even mainstream media has done this over the past however many years, 8 years, you know, basically saying like Trump is just radicalizing people to do violence and he needs to be held responsible for it. And the same thing happens on social media, on YouTube, all this stuff. It's like, well, this person said something and this person did a thing, so we need to silence that channel. It's like, do you understand how insane that sounds? And nobody gets the idea, like, well, okay, so you're setting the standard now. What happens when the tables turn and the people you hate so much are the ones in power? And then they make, you know what I mean? Like, do you understand the power that you're trying to wield? Like, this is why we have freedom of speech, because it's not about, it's about protecting people in the long run so government can't say that you can't say this or not say this, can or cannot say this. But the solution to this is more information, not less information. And who's to say that this person is the one that like is the, like, how are you the arbiter of truth? Mm-hmm. It's so scary when people start talking like that. Removing personal agency, basically. I
mostly agree with you. It's just that I don't think there's any actual, like, it feels good to say that, you know, the solution to bad speech is more speech, but I don't think there's any reason to believe that good speech will automatically, or like truthful speech will automatically triumph over false speech. Right? Like things that are catchy and mimetic, they tend to triumph over boring things more so than truth over falsehood. You know what I mean? Because yes. so like if the truth is funny, or sorry, no, if the truth is boring, but a lie is funny, the lie will become what spreads and not the truth.
Yes, but yes, you're right. And here's the thing: just like how economies move, these things don't often work out automatically, like you said. And that's the unfortunate part is, you know, we had Hitler was a democratically elected, you know, politician, dictator, you know, eventual dictator. So the people loved him. They rallied behind him. Hindsight being what it is, obviously that was a huge mistake, right? Yep. Like, again, like obviously the people who are speaking falsehoods and committing atrocities, regardless of who's, you know, saying, oh, I agree and this is great, like we obviously know now that that sort of like rhetoric and those actions are abhorrent and awful, and we let it go too far. But like again, it comes to like who is to say, especially nowadays, that take like anything like that this is the truth of the matter and there's no other truth besides it. Like, what if it came out tomorrow? So like some Neil deGrasse Tyson said, what, actually the earth is flat. We would all know it's bullshit, but we're like, well, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like he's a astrophysicist. So we got to believe him. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah. This is like the post-truth argument, like, right. Because like you don't actually know anything other than what you're currently experiencing. Everything else could be faked. Like, yeah, it's the post-truth argument. I know what you mean. I basically did a video on this exact topic, actually. Mm-hmm. It's a video on Thomas Bayes, if you know who he is.
I don't actually.
So he was a English preacher, in fact, and this was back in the day when the most educated people were they were religious men, right? Because religion and education went together for a very long time until the Industrial Revolution. So you had Thomas Bayes, and he basically developed a statistical method to try and get at the truth more accurately than any other way. And actually, he thought it was so obvious that he didn't publish it. And his friend had to dig it out of his office after he died and said, "This is like it." It basically created statistics as a field of math. But he said that it was too obvious, so he didn't bother publishing it, which is just apparently mathematics has this problem where like secluded geniuses discover like groundbreaking things and then never publish them because they think it's too obvious. Apparently it happens all the time. But basically, Bayes kind of discovered like something called Bayesian inference, or the Bayesian method, where basically you can appropriately weigh evidence based on its source and how it relates to previous evidence that you've already had, and then kind of like figure out what the truth is. It's an in-depth and boring topic, but there is ways to like kind of get truth pilled, but so I don't think we truly are just in the postmodernist post-truth hellscape where everything is only narratives and that's it. I think there is like an underlying truth that we can get at, but it takes some discipline. It takes like not being beholden to any sort of ideology, and it honestly takes losing some friends, because that's just how it is.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, and you could say if you agree or not, that something that gets in the way of this, and we've experienced an insane technological revolution, even in my lifetime. I'm not sure how old you are. I'm 39, so You're older than me? Okay.
No, I'm a bit younger than you. Yeah.
Okay. So in my lifetime, I've experienced a massive shift in technology, and it's daunting that we went from, like, I remember as God, I think I was still a senior in high school, even a junior or senior in high school, talking with my girlfriend on the phone that was attached to a wall. Like, like it was downstairs in my kitchen, but there was no, you know what I mean? Like the computers were like pocket calculators compared to what they are today. And now flash forward 25 years, and like, it's insane what we have right now. The speed at which we communicate with one another is, dare I say, unprecedented. I hate using that word, but like, it's so overused. But like, that's one of the problems, is that it's really easy to say we need to regulate hate speech. We need to regulate misinformation. But like, as you said, like, what people need to do is not subscribe to just like this one, ideology. They need to be able to slowly approach things, because for as long as we've been alive, we haven't communicated at this rate. Our communication was intentional at one point. It was like, I always go back to like when people used to write each other letters. For most of history, we wrote each other letters, and when you did so, you had to make sure that was perfect. Like, everything you put in, once you sealed that bitch up and put it in the in the mail, it better be spell checked. It better have the right message in there. Mm-hmm. Now you type out whatever drivel you want. You send it to the person you kind of like. And if you make a mistake, I can just correct it right then. Nothing needs to be like thought out. And that's sad when it comes to like our human interaction. Yeah. Twitter only amplifies that. Social media only amplifies that even more. So we need to catch up with with our technology, first of all, and remember that we're not necessarily a part of a global society. We're a part of where it's a piece of a global society, but we all still live in small communities, and people are starting to get outside of that. And I don't know, it's a multifaceted thing, but I think people are capable of doing it. It's just very difficult because of where we are technologically. So
I think there is no surefire solution to it, but the best thing you can do is through repeated exposure, understand who are bad actors, even if they are bad actors that might be aligned with you politically, and you have to basically call out your own side kind of thing, right? So here's a good example. Like everyone right now on we can call them like the populist right or the dissident right, the non-neocon right. They love zero hedge, right? Right. And I'll post this. I'll post this in the chat here if you want to pull it up, because everyone's talking about this right now. And it's sorry to beat a dead horse, but can we go back to what happened here? And I'm sure you've seen this image floating around fucking everywhere. This one graph where it says that, look, the Democrats had the same votes in 2012, 2016, and 2024. Right. So like the implication here is that 2020 was a cheat, right? And this is the graph. I'm sure you've seen it. Like, it's been reposted hundreds of thousands of times on Twitter. Yeah. It's underneath every single fucking post about 2020 and 2024. Like, the issue, though, is that this graph is false. It's wrong. It's a wrong graph. The data on it is inaccurate. However, it's been reposted so many times that no one cares anymore. Well, it's not inaccurate. It starts at 50 million is the problem. It doesn't show the whole picture. That is one part of it. The second part of it is that this was taken maybe 6 hours after the election results started coming in, and it's like the actual. I'll get you the actual numbers real quick because I do have them. Here, let me just. Yeah, she ended with like 70 million, and he ended with like 74 and change. Right? They're still counting them. So we don't know yet because some places take a few days. But like this is the most current graph here, and it's like that's from 0 to so the scale is proper, and also we now have information that graph didn't have, But he put that graph out because he is a partisan, because Zero Hedge is the kind of guy that will actually be like, hey, this looks good for my side, so I'm going to put it out. But like you look at the actual numbers, and it's like, oh, things actually look pretty normal. When you look at all these elections, like there's no funny business here at all. Like, and people are saying like, where'd the 20 million votes go? It's like, well, Zero Hedge's graph showed 14, but I guess you're rounding up. But even then, it's not even 14 that are missing. It's more like what, 8? Like it's one of those things where like there's so many tiny things wrong with it that they all add up to a completely skewed picture of reality. But it's already gone viral now so much that like, what are you going to do? Well, that's the problem too, is that it's not about being right. It's about being first. Yes. Where's that? That's either from a movie or from a comedian. I forget, but yeah, it's not about being right. It's about being first. And it's a big part of the problem. And actually Ben Shapiro talked about this on Chris Williamson's podcast, what is it called? Fuck. What the hell is this podcast called now? Modern Ben Shapiro's? No. Chris Williamson. I can't think of his. I don't know who he is. I think he's an Englishman, and he lives here in the States now. Modern Wisdom is his podcast, and Ben Shapiro was on there, and he basically says a lot. He's like, it's not worth it to me to wait on a story, because if I wait, like nobody cares about the story anymore, even though I'm right. So he's like, it's better to be wrong on something and then even admitting fault later or retracting. He's like, no one really cares at that point because they're not looking at the retraction, just looking at what you did originally. So it's kind of shitty that what we're in, but we live in a
we live in a very I need it now. And that's something like how do you move on from that? I don't know. I don't know how you fix that. Again, it's a product of the age we live in. We don't have to go anywhere. I want something to eat. I order it and some idiot brings it to my door. I need groceries. I order them. I don't even have to go in. I just drive up to the place and they put it in my car for me, or some idiot jumps at my door. Like it's really we're just making mindless drones of people, and it it just really sucks.
I mean, like that stuff can be useful if you're someone who actually is like a very productive individual. Like if you're running your own business, that's the reason why like a lot of CEOs have like personal chefs, right? It's like not because they want to be pampered, it's because their time is, rather than spending an hour a day cooking, their time is more valuable working, and they have someone cook for them, right? Like so, like these services have their place, but the fact that everyone is using them is probably a bad thing.
Yeah. One thing I will say quick about this graph is 2020 is still fairly anomalous for like, I mean, there's more people like it's good that 2024 had the turnout it did. The Democrat votes are still a bit anomalous. Like 8 million is nothing. That's a lot. And the one thing we didn't really touch on that I wrote a note for was how a lot of these Democrat states had modified the voting laws in the wake of COVID. And, you could argue whether that was right or wrong, but, changing voter laws in an election year is, it's a bit suspicious to say the least, I think.
I mean, yeah, but like I remember looking into a lot of the lawsuits because before I got sick in October, I was making the 2020 election fraud video about all the cases, and I read pretty much all the 62 lawsuits that Trump's team filed. I read all those court cases, and I think for like every single state except for 2, the court just ruled like pretty much just straight on. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with these. There's nothing wrong with the rules. They were legally changed. Everything's fine. And not only that, there's no evidence that the rules actually cause any fraud. So like they just flat out said everything's fine. For 2 of the states, they said, okay, you changed the rules improperly. You cannot do this again. And so in 2024, there will be a different set of rules. However, they still nonetheless investigated and said, you know what, despite the improper rule change, none of the votes that were cast were fraudulent. So it doesn't overturn the election, but you cannot do this again. It's like, well, okay, like that seems like it's set then,
Yeah.
See, I know like everyone says like, oh, all the cases were never heard on the merits. That's just like a lie. It's just a flat out falsehood. Like I have when that video of mine drops, I'm currently editing it, and it's going to be another long, boring 4-hour video. I'm going to go through every single case, and I'm going to put on screen why each of these cases was dropped, and I'm going to tally them up. And there were a whole bunch of them dropped on the merits. Like a shit ton of them were dropped on the merits. So it's going to be one of those like, only if you care about the data should you watch this video.
Right. No, I think one thing that people need to get through their heads is that information doesn't come quick, like not reliable information anyway. If you want to learn something, you need to spend a while learning it, generally speaking, or practicing it, like anything. You want to be well versed in something, you got to do it over and over again. Again, watching these videos, like sometimes I got to watch them multiple times. Like, hey, I missed that part, or wait, what was said? Because you spend however many hours in front of it, first researching it and then putting it together. Like I couldn't possibly expect to get everything out of it in a 1-3 hour sitting. So,
yeah. And like in a more general sense, like I think a lot of the problems that I've had are because I'm very anti-woke when it comes to like video games and movies and TV shows. Didn't like Star Wars Acolyte, fucking terrible show. Didn't like a lot of the terrible game. Like don't like Dragon Age Veilguard, like all these, or like Dustborn, all these terrible fucking games, right? But some people think that means that I should be pro-Trump, and these are 2 completely separate issues. Like they're not related. Like I can, but like. I remember I made like an 1.5 hour long Stellar Blade video, and this was kind of the same situation that Ben Shapiro was talking about, because I put it out like a month after people had moved on from Stellar Blade. But I'm kind of he's right that you probably make more money just getting it out first.
Right.
But I think I have been. I got into some drama, so like my channel's kind of suffered. But like up until that point, and probably in the future as well, because I'm not going to suffer forever. I'm creating a niche where it's like, no, actually, this is a space where we are going to pursue truth at the expense of being fast. And so if you want to know what's actually going on, this would be the place. And I know there are other YouTubers who are kind of doing the same thing that I know of, and that I've talked to them a whole bunch. And like maybe we can at the very least create like a community where speed is not what we're going for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think especially when it comes to like entertainment, be it film or gaming or anything like the arts, like I think people need to. I think it's pertinent to really take time to like let stuff absorb. Honestly, I'm still thinking about Joker 2, like from our conversation, and the more and more I think of it, the more and more I think that it really was like Todd Phillips's like fu to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And
I can appreciate that.
you know what I mean? Like I really do in some regards believe it. And you know, I know it's easy to jump on it right away and be like, oh, this is awful. I was like, yeah, well, certainly on its surface, but like but that's the beauty of art. It's the beauty of film and all these things. Like you can look at something from different angles with more time. And sometimes it just gets better and better with age. And there's too much of this like shooting from the hip. This thing is woke. I mean, some stuff is objectively bad. I think like The Acolyte it's very difficult to make any sort of case for that show. There's a couple cool like the cinematography a couple of times was pretty good. Like they had a pretty good eye, but I mean, that's not why I'm watching a Star Wars movie. I'm watching it for story, right? Like in lightsaber battles.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
like I mean, that show falls short on so many levels. But like me myself, I'm going the same route where I'm going to be revisiting a lot of stuff, a lot of older content, both from Hollywood, films and TV, and really breaking them down for people, because like there's a whole generation of movies that I think a lot of people who are like, Gen Zers that probably have never seen, that like, you want to see really good filmmaking, you want to see really good TV, the golden age of HBO in the early 2000s. Like you don't know shit. Like, so
yeah.
good. Even network television, dude, like back in the early 2000s.
Oh, Shag's gone again. You can still hear me though, right, chat? It's not. Things aren't completely dead, are they? You're back?
No, we're sorry.
Welcome back. I know what you mean though. I know what you mean, because like I didn't see House, the House MD, with autistic doctor. Yeah. I hadn't seen that. And maybe last year I sat down with my girlfriend and watched the whole way through. Yep. And like it's a great show. However, they had some storylines and some jokes that you couldn't do today. And that's
for sure.
It's like, oh my god, dude! Like, some of the things that House says and does, like we're getting this show canceled, to go viral on Twitter, it'd be like a fucking nightmare. But it's a great show though, and like it's almost like there's a creator named Taftage, if you know who she is, but she's like a smaller right wing channel, and I had Arch and her did an Arch cast a few months ago, just on media, because she's a Zoomer. And she's gone back to watch a bunch of TV from the 2000s, and she had like her mind blown of just the kind of stuff that you could say and do that you can't do now. I think she watched Heroes. I didn't really like Heroes.
Oh, I loved Heroes. Well, seasons 1 and 2 were solid. 3, 4, and 5 were like, I don't know what happened. Anyways,
but she watched Heroes, and she said like she was legitimately stunned that they had, for one of the characters was, I think, like a black single mother, and they just played it straight. There was no woke nonsense. It was just, oh, here's the positives and negatives of her lifestyle, and here's how it intersects with her having superpowers, and here's why it's not all good. Recently, I haven't seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer all the way through, so I went back to watch that with my girlfriend as well. I'm currently finishing it up right now, and like there's one scene where like you have like two black guys arguing, and one of them is like a kid who grew up in the ghetto, and one of them is someone who ended up being like a gangster.
Yeah.
And the gangster blames the white police officers for everything. And the ghetto kid says, hey, yeah, those guys do plenty bad, but so do you. You make it worse for all of us. You
Yeah.
wouldn't see that in the era of BLM. It would all
Oh
just
no.
be like racial solidarity all across the board. You wouldn't see
Yep.
any sort of introspection where the minority also has to come to terms with the fact that they also are not perfect, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, TV was more sophisticated back then or something. I don't know. Writers are
It's
better. Like,
it's funny because I think it was the third episode of season 1 of 24. So the presidential candidate at the time is a black guy, Dennis Haysbert, the Allstate guy. So he's running for president, and he goes to like talk to one of his inside people to get some information in this crummy parking garage. And there's like this white kid and this black kid, and they're smashing windows. He gets out of his car, and the guy's like, "Yo, man," the black kid's like, "Yo, this is a private lot. Like, pay up, $100." And he's like, "You really better clean yourself up, or you're gonna be dead in 5 years." That's what So David Palmer's black. He says it to the black kid, and he's like, "Oh, you're all the same, man. You're all the same." And it was just this moment again, just same way. Like, you can get out of this. You got to make the choice to do it. But yeah, like now, if that were today, there would have been some preachy like, "Oh, I know police are always against black people, but you got, it would have been something like out of left field where you couldn't leave identity politics out of it."
I know what you mean. You mentioned like doing videos like this, and I do want to do them too because, like, when it comes to media criticism, it's like it's so lefty dominated, and they do some good stuff. Like it's not all terrible. Like I fucking hate the politics behind Sarah Z, but she does some good videos sometimes, right? Like she did like a 2-hour video or something on season 6 of Buffy, and like it's an amazing video. Even though I disagree with her politics, even though I disagree with some of her conclusions, the fact that she can analyze some of these things and like pull like tease out certain parts of the story, then talk about them. Like I can't think of anyone on the right wing or even on the center who's doing that. Like media analysis is just all like leftist right now, and probably to its detriment because there's also so many bad people who are doing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I want to approach film. I mean, new releases too. Like I don't want to leave behind new releases because there's a lot of good stuff coming out. But sharing some of the stuff that came from the past that didn't have all this stuff written into it. It was about good storytelling, which we've gotten away from, and doing it from a point of view that leaves politics out of it. Like obviously we're influenced by culture of the times, but with so many good characters, like especially the David Palmer character in 24, like even I can identify with him. I'm not a black guy, but like I can identify with him trying to overcome a lot of these problems that he's, and he's working with, these different characters to solve. Like, because it's not about what I look like; it's the struggles that all humans sort of come down with. Go, Cat. Sorry.
I mean, I kind of disagree. I mean, I do agree to a point, but like, I don't think you can leave politics out of it. I think
no, I'm not saying leave it out of it.
You did say that.
Well, I mean, politics. Okay, what I mean is, it's not going to like you probably won't hear me saying, the wild robot is not good because there's woke trash in it, or the dialogue is woke trash. I'm not going to approach it in that way. I've not seen the wild robot. I'm just using that as an example. Like I'm not going to say something like that. If something's bad, I'm going to use my analysis of it is going to be as devoid of like politics as I can, because I don't necessarily. Do you kind of get where I'm coming from? I just don't want to be central to the criticism.
I think I do. So like this image that I just posted, and this is a very famous tweet from a friend of mine named Christina, and everyone sees this tweet. It's constantly fucking reposted. But yeah, it's just it's all games are political, says the extremely smart individual who can't tell the difference between Metal Gear Solid, BioShock, and this picture. And this picture is just an orange Trump who is on Family Guy, right? And this is kind of what you're getting at. Where like clearly Metal Gear Solid and BioShock have things to say that are political.
Right.
And they're not even necessarily like anti-left. Sometimes they're even very pro-left. That doesn't matter. What matters is that it's done in a sophisticated way. It's telling an actual story that is about politics, and it's not simply preaching.
Right. Yes.
Which is what Family Guy is clearly doing here.
Yes.
Yeah, because like there's definitely like a leftist analysis of Metal Gear Solid, because when Metal Gear Solid came out, the right was very pro-war and the left was very anti-war. There's definitely a leftist analysis of BioShock, because BioShock is supposed to be like the libertarian utopia that turns into a nightmare because you can't simply devote yourself to one ideology. Like, it's I get it, and it's like even like you look at like season 1 of The Boys before the show went to shit.
Right.
It's very clearly more a pro-left show than a pro-right show. Very clearly. But it's still a good show. Like, it's one of those things where, like, okay, one project that I'm working on, and it's probably not going to come out for like another 6 months, but it's an analysis of Final Fantasy VII, because I like Final Fantasy VII a lot. I think lots of people
The original?
The original, yeah. The original game. Because I watched like half a dozen lefty video essayists make the same claim. This is fundamentally a left-wing game because it's about eco-terrorists who are fighting, the Shinra Corporation, and how it, like, they all made the exact same points. And then one guy kept saying, this game isn't political, as like a joke towards people who say, get politics out of our video games. And it's like, I get it. Clearly there's a political element to Final Fantasy VII. You can't say that there's not.
Right.
But like, none of these lefties realized that, like, when you look at the actual structure of the entire game, not just the intro Midgar segment where you're blowing up the stand-in for nuclear reactors, basically, what you realize is that all of the people who are fighting the corporations, they're not progressive people. They're like, they're very like conservative people almost.
Yeah.
Like Cosmo Canyon is basically just like it's the complete opposite of Midgar, because it is a native culture that completely lacks in technology. And they're or like Wutai. Wutai is like a nationalist revolt against Shinra. And it's like, hold on. If you actually examine all these factions in Final Fantasy VII, the ones who are doing the most fighting against the corporations are right-wingers.
Yeah.
It's like they're traditionalists and they're nationalists. So I don't know how you can sit here and make this claim, but the reason they can make this claim is because there's nobody on the right who makes these videos.
Right. No, it's true. Well, and yeah, a lot of times right wingers are they. I don't know if it's they're not good at the arts, but they don't accept the arts in the way that the left does, and it which is bizarre to me. I think there's like, it's bizarre because, like, don't you want to conserve like these like beautiful paintings and like the way that you could conserve, our forests and all that stuff in nature? But I don't know, man.
I think a lot of it is like this is something that's much older than this conversation, but the right wing for a long time has valued education insofar as it can get you a good job, right? And there's reasons for that. Like, there's reasons to focus solely on the meat and potatoes. What is productive in the moment? It probably comes out of like there's a certain type of Protestant subculture in the States that's like very focused on staying busy. I'm sure I don't remember the name of it, but I'm sure you know what it is because you're American and I'm not, so you probably know what I'm talking about. But basically, like a lot of the linking of capitalism and being like very, very productive and religiosity comes from this specific American religious subculture. And then meanwhile, you have like the opposite of that. You have like anarchists who think that, like, the r/anti-work people who say that it's like a moral virtue to be lazy. Like, it's like, okay, that also doesn't help anybody, right? But basically, I think a lot of, like, you see like conservatives say, hey, listen, don't send your kid to universities. Go, send them to go get like to learn a trade, be a plumber or be a construction worker or something, because you make more money that way and they're more essential jobs. And it's like, I get it. However, I guarantee you none of these like right-wing talking heads are going to be sending their kids off to plumbing school. They're sending them off to Yale. Like, of course they fucking are, like it almost seems that like none of them practice what they preach in a sense, because they understand that there is actually value in education. Maybe not getting, the degree in feminist dance therapy, but like, okay, I saw Candace Owens debate Destiny somewhere. I forget where, but
wasn't it like in his house or something?
It might have been. I don't recall.
Yeah,
I don't recall. But she said at one point, she said, I got a 3-year journalist degree and I went into debt and I never used it. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Or don't you work for like the Daily Wire? Is that not like, aren't you not doing journalism? Like, you clearly are using your degree. You are one of the
Right.
most famous right-wing pundits on the internet. What do you mean you're not using your degree? You know, like
Yeah.
clearly you got something out of this degree that you got. So it's one of those things where, like, I think conservatives have backed away from post-secondary education, maybe too much and maybe to their own detriment. And the
Yeah.
reason why they're not in Hollywood is going to be partially that. Like,
Yeah.
they abandoned the arts, and now it's all overrun by leftists. And it's like, well, hold on, there should be conservative art. There should be good conservative art. You know, there should be conservative journalists. Like, but like they just, it's almost like they're cannibalizing themselves in some ways. You know,
yeah. Well, it's that whole like the argument's kind of the same as like when lefties are like, oh, I'm not going to have kids because Trump's in office, or like the world today, I'm not going to have kids. It's like, well, like it's the same argument of like, don't send your kids to university. And it's like, well, no, you need to be like, if you want to enact some change within an institution, like then you need the conservative ideals within that institution, like pushing back. You can't just let someone take it over. It's like, oh, I'm not going to have kids. Okay, well then all the then conservatives will win out because you're not preparing the next generation. With your ideals. It's just kind of it's a really stupid way of approaching it. I never understood people that say stuff like that. Again, I mean, having kids is a complicated issue, but just saying you're not going to have kids because you don't want them born into this world because it's bad. It's like, well, here's your chance to change that world.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
There's a lot of like self-defeating tendencies on pretty much every group. Yeah. But I think the reason that you don't see conservatives making art or engaging with art, you don't see like conservatives doing any sort of like video analysis on YouTube or anything like that, is because they've largely backed away from the arts. And like there is like this push coming up now where they're trying to recreate it, but it's not really going that well. Like, wasn't there that one movie that was it Crowder's Company, or who was it that put it out? It was a comedy movie like a few months ago, and it was like only okay.
Lady Ballers. Yeah, that's the Daily Wire has been trying to make the anti-woke movies, and it haven't been doing well, unfortunately.
Yeah. And like there's a space for that sort of stuff, but like maybe if they do it for a few more decades, they'll get better at it again.
Well, I said so. Zachary Levi posted because he came out as as someone who's supporting Trump, which again is fine. Like I think people should be okay to say who they're supporting and shouldn't get roasted over it necessarily. But he had tweeted like, "Oh, I'm going to, I'm working with a company that's going to start doing some anti-woke stuff." And I replied to him. I said, you should really be careful in labeling your company or the company you're working for as anti-woke. I said, just write a good story. We don't care that it's anti-woke. We care that it makes sense. It's a world that we can relate to. It has a compelling story, good visuals, whatever. Like, just look at all these, like all these these movies from the past that are great. You don't know the politics of the people who made them. Like, it's the most beautiful thing about it. So,
and here's the thing, like, more importantly than the politics is just it being a good game or a good show, right?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Like, one of my favorite anime of all time is a very left-leaning, hyper-feminist show called Revolutionary Girl Utena. There is that show wears its politics on its sleeve. It is pro-feminist all the way through. Mm-hmm. It's a really good show. The quality is there. It was made like 95 or something. So like it hasn't aged well because it's 95, but like for back then it was like top tier anime. And like for something more modern, probably one of the best RPGs I've ever played, and definitely the game with the best writing I've ever seen is Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium was made by a bunch of communists.
Yeah, that game was
It's a great game, but it was made by a bunch of communists in Eastern Europe, like it's something isn't good or bad just because it's woke or anti-woke,
Right.
Like there's clearly, even though they might be politically aligned, there's clearly a giant gulf in quality between Disco Elysium and Dragon Age Veilguard.
Yes, I can agree with that. And I haven't played Veilguard yet. I'll be honest. I've watched a lot of it. My friend, one of my mods, has played the whole thing all the way through. He said there's definitely a lot of cringe dialogue. he did say that he enjoyed his playthrough for the most part. Like he's like, it's not the essentially not it's not the best game ever made, but he said I do think that some people's criticism is a bit overblown. But by far, like I mean, the worst part about it is probably the dialogue in it, and for me, like if you're going for a fantasy vibe and there's like modern language in it, like I'm
I'm
sort of
non-binary.
yeah.
That fucking.
Or even like I even saw there's like a dialogue option for oof. Like,
oh, dude.
what? It's so weird.
Yeah,
but,
it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough.
But you know, it is what it is. I think we're starting to see some form of change. I don't know where we go from here. In Hollywood and in movies, I think companies are starting to lose too much money to keep leaning into DEI stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
So
I know like some people are saying that like it's like I know Keir thinks it's coming back as a bridge. I don't think it's coming back. People think like I think it's gone. I think DEI is going to be dead within a year. Like it's on life support. No one likes that shit. No one cares anymore. The money just isn't there. I do know that like for movies, there was definitely a backlog just in what they were creating because of COVID, right? So there was the COVID backlog, and that's all worked its way through now. So like people were making woke movies in 2020 that wouldn't come out till 2023, and by then no one fucking wanted to see these things. So like the movies being made right now might come out in a year or two, maybe 3 years, and they'll probably be something different at that point, I think.
I have said that to people too. People are like, "Whoa, what about all this? These games are still coming out." I'm like, "Yeah, but these are games, and games especially are in the pipeline for a long time. Movies take a while. They're not quite as long as game development, but you know, with games, they're in the pipeline for sometimes nearly a decade. And then movies are a little bit quicker, but you know, like 2 years is what you're looking at usually for. They generally shoot it pretty quick, but I mean, editing and marketing and all that stuff takes place over a long time. And a lot of these are just, and COVID was a weird time. They paused a lot of projects, and they just made people just weird anyway in an already weird industry. So now, but like, I think you're right that we're going to start seeing this trash. Like, I think we're seeing it trickle out now, and we're going to start seeing these companies being like, well, that was a total financial loss. We need to start writing good movies again and not care about what these people look like.
I think for games, we're like at the end, I think now, because there was a shit ton of woke garbage in 2023 and 2024. But like Veilguard was the last game that I can think of. No, there's one more. The Assassin's Creed game, Shadows. That's coming out in February or something. But like after that, what else is there? Because like it's all come out and it's all been bad. You know, like Dustborn came out and had like its month in the news cycle, and before Veilguard, it was Star Wars Outlaws that came out. That was around for like a month, and now no one cares. And like earlier than that, I know like Stellar Blade was the inverse. Everyone loves Stellar Blade, but like I'm just thinking back to like a great way to kind of map the past year is just like look at what a side scrollers covered, right? Because they cover all of the culture war gaming cycles, and it's like, well, what is left to come out aside from Assassin's Creed? And it's like nothing. So hopefully now they're going to start making good games again.
So my hope, and I know I'm going to be wrong, I want the Assassin's Creed game to be amazing. I know that's not what's happening, but like in some small respect, I want it to be good. So like in some small respect, we can just like stuff it to people. Like I'm so like I'm worn out with the like with how bad games are, but also like the extreme negativity surrounding it. Like I'm hoping the gameplay is so good that it like
good luck.
You know what I mean? Like it's like we get back to like what Assassin's Creed used to be. I don't think it's what's going to happen, but I want that to happen because I want something to be great. That's, you know, I don't want these companies to fail. I want them to succeed because I think there's a lot of innocent people within these companies that are just like, I'm here to make a game and that's what I want to do. And I'm not a part of this broader, you know, agenda.
When I interviewed somebody who worked on the Saints Row reboot, who basically said that like this is like, he knew what he was making. Everyone knew what they were making, and they couldn't really not do that. It was higher up. Yeah. But I mean, like, there are still good games coming out, right? Like, Baldur's Gate 3 was a good game, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was a good game, and the new Zelda game, Echoes of Wisdom, is pretty good. Like, there's good games still coming out. Black Myth Wukong was good. Like, there's a bunch of good games coming out, just that no one's talking about them. Yeah,
That's true.
Stellar Blade was good.
Yep.
So, honestly, like, I think if Stellar Blade came out 10 years ago, I'd only call it like mid. But we're so desperate for good games now. It's just like, we'll just take it. We'll just take it, dude. Oh yeah, that's one thing I wanted to mention though, is like when I did my Stellar Blade video, I think that might have been where I started to begin to really get underneath right winger's skin a little bit, because when I dug into that one, I realized that it wasn't Sony censoring sexuality. Everyone thought it was, because Sony has done that before, so it's a reasonable assumption. But it was actually copyright law. It was the fact that the people who made all the various outfits in Stellar Blade, they just they're in Korea. They just kind of took them. They bought real outfits and scanned them in, and then didn't credit. So like there were 5 outfits that had to be changed for copyright reasons, and so they changed them.
Oh, see, that's not the news that people hear. They just think, oh, so But like you said, it's a well-founded assumption because of history, but still. Like that information is important because, I like to think that people can change in some regard. Now, Sony in general does not have a good track record, especially surrounding Helldivers and all that bullshit. But, I don't know. It just goes to show people are just, they want to jump on the quick thing and not the thing that's true. And that is what's getting old for me. I'd rather take time.
Yeah. That's and honestly, I think Stellar Blade is what like finally was the straw that broke my back. Basically, was Stellar Blade, because I was talking to people. Like, I made videos on the Trigger Conroy scandal, and these people loved it. I made a video about like the Skullgirl scandal from like late last year. If you heard about that, people love that video. I've made like political videos talking about things. People love them. And I come out and I say, listen, I'm looking into the Stellar Blade thing. And it doesn't seem to be censorship. It seems to be the fact that they stole 5 outfits. And that's why, by the way, there are more sexier outfits that didn't get censored.
Right.
And it's like, no, Dev, you're completely wrong. I can't believe you're backstabbing us like this. I'm just like what the hell happened, guys? Like, I thought you guys were like the guys were chill. Turns out some of them weren't chill. They just wanted to hear they wanted to hear their own narrative repeated back to them,
Right. People just want to be affirmed. It feels good to have other people affirm your beliefs. I mean, I fell into the trap too, but at some point you're like, okay, this is starting to betray my own principles, so I can't completely follow through with this. And, but you get into these parasocial relationships online, and you're like, in some small regard, you feel beholden to those opinions and like the groupthink, because you don't want to be othered or outed from those groups. Nobody likes to feel like that. But again, when you start sacrificing your own principles just to stay in the crowd, and like you said, like just getting beat on every time you get, oh, I'll just take it because that's who I am. I just, I get beat up for my opinions. That's, you're betraying your own values, and that's not good. So
yeah, I agree with that. Someone in the chat said they also censored the gore in Stellar. Listen, you can watch my video if you want. It's an hour and a half long, but you can watch it. I go over all this. The censored gore, like there's still the same amount of gore coming off the enemies. The only gore that was censored is the blood splatters on Eve herself, and it was censored like long before the demo. Like if you watch a trailer from like years ago, there was way more blood splatter on her, and they toned it down. The only reason that people started calling it censored is because you know about the skin suit in Stellar Blade?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So the skin suit being like a kind of an Easter egg-ish suit. In the demo of Stellar Blade, it still had the old gore effects on the skin suit only. It didn't have it on the new on the modern uniforms. So they probably just missed it, and then it was taken out. It was taken out in the actual release of the game. So like I went through and I beat that boss, that first boss, with all the outfits at the time, including the skin suit, on all patches, and also in the demo, and then compared it to the trailer. And basically, I put it all on screen. I was like, here's how it all looks. And basically, it just seems to be a holdover from before, where like it's not like Sony demanded this. This was taken out of the game a very long time ago, and they just forgot to take it out of the Easter egg suit. in the demo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I really enjoyed this conversation. I could probably talk to you all night, but we're going to wrap it up here.
Is it late for you wherever you are?
Well, it's not totally. It's 11 o'clock. I have an early start to my day, and I have a couple things to do before I'm actually going to close up my full night.
Right, yeah.
But I try to keep these like generally around like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I think we're over 2 now.
Yeah, with the previous part, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes conversations just go so well, and like I think you're a pretty easy dude to talk to. I think you're someone who, even though we don't always align, like when I look at your tweets sometimes, and even some of the stuff we've talked about tonight, like I feel like we can have a good back and forth and talk about what's being said, and not yell at each other.
Yeah, that's nice.
Real quickly, we do have 2 super chats. One from Memes of Destruction for $4.99 says, "Hi friends, should we legalize dueling?" Interesting.
Do you want to bring it back?
I don't, but it sounds like some people do. I think some right wingers would love dueling nowadays. And PC for $5 says, "Dev, what happened to TikTok Tuesday? Did you finally decide to work on the trucker video to rub it in chat's face?"
So yeah, basically during the election cycle, when I was trying to get all those big videos ready, I stopped doing I stopped doing TikTok Tuesdays. I stopped doing my weekly Sunday show. I stopped doing like a bunch of small videos. I was like, I'm making these giant videos, and then I got sick, so it all went to shit. So that happens. But no, TikTok Tuesday will be back. In fact, it'll probably be like a super long one. Usually they're only like 15 minutes. I'll probably do like an hour-long one tomorrow, because this time it's going to be all the people who are freaking out about Kamala Harris losing. There's a ton of good TikToks for that. Just people like losing their fucking minds.
Oh, you can ask my chat. I am no stranger to TikTok. I do TikTok debates. Like I'll hop on those political debates that people are having, whether it's about, Trump is good. I've done pro-life ones, all that stuff. It's pretty fun. I have probably about a dozen that I've been on. Some people are cool and they talk to me for a while. Others, as soon as I say something that's like out of line, they just kick me. But I do what I can, because I think it's important that I'm not trying to change the host's mind. I'm trying to like reach people in the chat. Like maybe they'll hear something I say and it plants a seed that helps them think outside of what, they're just constantly absorbing every day. That's
there's also the trucker video in there. So trucker video, you know about the truckers in Canada, right? From COVID. Yeah. So I didn't do a video on it when it happened, because there was a bunch of legal things that were unrolling in Canada long after the Americans stopped paying attention. And those finally finished up maybe at the start of the year. It went before the Canadian Senate. At this point, though, I realized like I was doing other projects, and I realized like it's been like 2 years. I'm just going to do the trucker video when the next Canadian election happens. But it's a meme at this point, because it's been 2 years and people are like, "Dev, where's the video?" It's like, well, it's coming eventually. But now it's like releasing it now would not make any sense. But like as soon as the Canadian election starts up, I'll put it out then. So
okay,
it's coming.
All right. Anything else you got coming up you want to promote? Doing what's happening with you?
Well, I still want to finish those other 2 anti-Trump videos and that one anti-Kamala Harris video. I'll probably repurpose the Kamala Harris video into a why Kamala Harris lost type of video, because a lot of the stuff in that is still relevant.
Yep.
And also because people are now relitigating 2020 again on Twitter, it's a good time to repost to bring out that 2020, here's all the cases and here's what actually happened to them. So they're still kind of relevant. Beyond those, I am working on that Final Fantasy VII video, but it probably won't come out for months. I have a couple other projects that I'm like kicking around there's like a bunch of long videos that I want to do. And, I do like the occasional video where like we'll laugh at some TikTok junk, or I'll talk about like a single topic for 10 or 15 minutes, and they can be kind of fun. But like I have some long videos planned. One of them that I'm working on, I guess to show the last of many, I'm doing a video that I'm going to call The Undeath of the Author. And the reason it's called that is because I'm sure you've noticed that when you see like lefties on Twitter talk about The Boys or Starship Troopers or Helldivers, they're saying, "Hey, how is it that conservatives or right wingers can enjoy this game or this movie? Because don't you know it's making fun of you? Don't you know that the artist is specifically making you the butt of the joke, or they're critiquing you and your ideas in this movie or in this game? How can you enjoy it?" Right? Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that a lot, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So the problem with that point of view is that it explicitly requires it explicitly requires you to know what the author wanted to do. You have to have knowledge of the author's intent of what the work means, right? That is a core component of satire, is you must know what the author is satirizing. And the reason for that is it Poe's law? I forget. Poe's law, I think it's Poe's law. Someone in the chat will correct me. Is basically the idea that the satire of a thing is going to look identical to the true believer of that thing. Do you know what I mean? So
yes.
like if you are making a satire of Nazis and it's a perfect satire, a real Nazi will look at that and say that's real Nazism, even if you intend it to be a satire, right?
Yep.
So in order to understand if a piece of media is satire, you must also have knowledge of the author's intent. And so when they talk about Starship Troopers, they talk about Verhoeven and how he said that he was making a video about fascism, or a movie about fascism, and he said it in interviews and stuff. So it's like, okay, we have the author's intent. However, when the author comes out and says, actually, this is not what it's about, and that happened with Tim Kaine and Fallout. I don't know if you saw that recently.
Yeah.
Where Tim Kaine came out and said, no, Fallout isn't about capitalism. You guys got it all wrong. This is not about capitalism. In fact, China, the communists, they're the enemy in Fallout.
Right.
And then you suddenly had all these lefties say, well, actually, the author doesn't really matter. You know, death of the author is a big thing in literary criticism. And it's like, so hold on. So you don't actually care about either of these schools of thought when it comes to media criticism. Mm-hmm. You simply are going to take the one that makes your political project look better.
Exactly.
So I am doing a video called "Undeath of the Author" because I think it's a very punny name, and I'm going to go over how this entire like online media criticism, huffing your own farts shit, how it's all just morally bad.
Oh, for sure, dude. I look forward to it. It's going to be you get. Sounds like you have some really good stuff coming out, and I look forward to starting up that video tomorrow on my workday drive.
The 4-hour one, I have fun with that. It's so fucking long.
I
enjoy you watching it though. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I anytime I can support people, I can. I always feel bad I don't support as much as I can. It's just I'm such a busy life, and I have to really be selective in what I can and can't absorb. And I can't watch everything. I want to, but on top of it all, I got to do my own stuff, which is hard. So,
yep.
But no, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat. It was really good to finally catch up and sit down one-on-one and not just be on a panel. Chat, want to thank you as well for joining. We had a lot of great people. Thank you for everyone who came over from the original stream. I'm sorry that we lost so many of you if you're looking back on this, but it was a great conversation. As for me, join our Discord.
In that first hour, there were definitely some people who were like, I recognized the dev hater names. And I'm like, I know you guys. It's okay. I get it. It's okay though.
Yeah, some were here just to cause trouble, it looks like. But hey, we appreciate all interactions, even if they are negative. But no, thank you again for everyone who's here, good or bad. We love the audience, and consider joining Discord. I got the Discord link down in the description below. Dev's links are there as well. Make sure you support him as well. Subscribe to both the channels. Support where you can. Follow us on Twitter. Like, share, all that good stuff. I don't have to repeat it. You know the drill. Do it. And then that's it. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate those super chats tonight. You guys are keeping the machine rolling. That's it for us. We will see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I like to put stuff online.